Hello, my dear listeners. I am delighted to be with you on this tranquil night. If you'd like us to make any improvements in our future videos, please don't forget to share your suggestions in the comments. Tonight, I will take you on a journey to Çatalhöyük, one of the world's oldest known cities. In these ancient lands, we will listen to the story of people who lived 9,000 years ago. Now, please share the city and time you're listening from in the comments, so that no matter where in the world you're tuning in from, we can feel like we're experiencing this story together. Now dim the lights, settle comfortably under your blanket, and slowly close your eyes. Our journey quietly begins into the depths of time. 9,000 years ago, the sun rose over the fertile lands of Anatolia in the same way, but this morning was different. In the middle of the Konya plain, where two small rivers met, a handful of people had decided for the first time to establish a permanent home. You are one of those people now. In your hands, you have only stone tools, knowledge, and an endless hope. Along with your other family members, you are preparing to establish a new way of life in these lands. In the early hours of the morning, you walk barefoot on the damp earth. With every step, you feel the potential lying beneath these lands. There is water here, fertile soil, and most importantly, plenty of animals for hunting. But you no longer want to be just a hunter-gatherer. Your elderly grandfather, in the stories he told you, spoke of people in distant lands who produced food by sowing seeds in the earth. This new knowledge will change your and your family's lives forever. Your first task is to choose the place where your family will live. A slightly elevated hill by the river seems ideal. Here, you can both be protected from floods and keep an eye on your surroundings. When you talk to other families, you realize they have similar thoughts. Slowly, a community begins to form on this small hill. None of you know yet that this settlement you are establishing here will become one of the most important turning points in human history. As days turn into weeks, you and your family begin to build your first shelter. But this is not like the temporary tents or huts you made before. This time, you will build a permanent home. You prepare mud bricks, kneading a mixture of earth, water, and straw with your hands to shape them. Each brick becomes a part of your new life. You are surprised by how sturdy this muddy earth becomes after drying in the sun. This material is strong enough to last for generations. As you lay the foundations of your home, you realize the advantages of being close to neighboring families. It becomes much easier to work together, share the burden, and protect one another. But at the same time, the close proximity of the houses also requires a new way of life. You now know that every movement, every sound can be heard by your neighbors. This new communal living requires new rules and new behaviors. As the first winter approaches, most of your home is complete. But the hardest part has yet to begin. Adjusting to this new lifestyle, you had never stayed in the same place for so long before. Every season you were on the move, chasing hunting opportunities or searching for new food sources. Now you are rooting yourself in these lands, making this truly your home. At night, as you lie in your bed, you ponder how big a change this decision represents. In your evening gatherings with neighboring families, you plan for the future. You discuss which seeds to plant in spring, how to store food for winter, and how to provide education for the children. These conversations are the first urban planning meetings in human history. You are not aware of it yet, but every step you take here will shape the way of life for future generations. During the long hours of winter nights, sitting by the fire, you recall your elderly grandfather's stories. He used to tell of the hardships of a constantly migrating life, of hunger and danger lurking at every moment. Now, you are in your own home. Your walls protect you. A fire burns in your hearth. and you have a sturdy roof over your head. This sense of security is something you have never experienced before. Perhaps this is why this new way of life is spreading so rapidly, and other hunter-gatherer groups are beginning to follow your example. With spring, the real test begins. As you sow the seeds in the earth, you cannot be sure if these tiny grains will actually grow. This is a process to be learned entirely through experience. Every day you go to the fields and check the soil. The joy you feel when you see the first green shoots emerge is indescribable. This is not just an achievement, but also a sign of hope for humanity's future. You no longer have to settle for what nature provides. You can produce your own food. But this new way of life also brings unexpected challenges. Diseases spread more rapidly because people now live together. Infections transmitted from animals also increase because you are in closer contact with the animals you have domesticated. To cope with these new diseases, you need to learn about medicinal plants more systematically. The knowledge of elderly women becomes even more valuable now because they know which plant is good for which ailment. As months pass, this small settlement slowly grows. New families arrive, children are born, and the elderly pass away. While each loss takes a piece from the community's collective memory, each new birth increases hopes for the future. You no longer think only of your own family. You are a part of this community, and everyone's well-being is connected to yours. This is perhaps the first definiting
on of being urban, thinking of the common good, rather than individual interests. As dusk falls, you lie on the roof of your house and look at the stars. You know these stars have shone from the same place for centuries, but now you see them with different eyes, because now you, like them, are fixed in one place. You are no longer nomadic. You have become a part of these lands, and these lands have become a part of you. Perhaps this is why you feel so peaceful tonight. The story of this first settlement is not just the story of a group of people. It is the story of one of humanity's greatest transformations. This way of life, which began in Çatalhöyük, would eventually spread throughout the world and form the foundations of our modern civilization. You too are silently playing your part in this great transformation. And at the end of this night, as you prepare for the new adventures tomorrow will bring, you fall asleep without knowing that every step you take in these lands will leave a mark in history. At this silent end of the first chapter, the soft sound of the wind passing over your home's roof invites you to a sleep full of tomorrow's hopes. The story of Çatalhöyük is just beginning, and you are the hero of this story. Tonight, you lie under the same sky as an ancestor who took one of humanity's most important steps. This is perhaps one of the deepest connections you can form with history. When the sun rises the next day, you will be part of a completely different world, because you are now living the first days of an urban dweller. On these lands, the foundations of a civilization that archaeologists will admire 9,000 years later are being laid, and you, as a silent but indispensable part of this great story, open the way for the future with each new day. With the first light of morning, as golden sunbeams filter through your home's walls and caress
our face, you begin to ponder the endless possibilities this new life offers you. Yesterday, you were still a hunter-gatherer. Today, you are one of Çatalhöyük's first inhabitants. This change is happening not only in space, but also in your soul. The boundaries of the past no longer bind you. The endless possibilities of the future stretch out before you. This morning, you gather with your neighbors and plan the day's tasks. You discuss who will work in the fields, who will go hunting, who will make pottery. This is perhaps humanity's first division of labor meeting. Everyone has different talents, and when you combine these talents, you can achieve much more than you could alone. This spirit of cooperation becomes one of the fundamental characteristics that make Çatalhöyük special. As the sun rises higher, you walk towards the fields. The excitement of seeing the first green shoots emerge from the earth is still in your heart. These small plants are not just a source of food, they are also a symbol of hope for the future. Each seed is a part of the legacy you will leave to the next generation, and this legacy includes not only material wealth, but also accumulated knowledge and experience. As the midday sun is at its peak, you return home for a short rest. Within the cool walls of your home, as you shake off the fatigue of the morning's work, you again feel the security brought by this new way of life. You now know where you will sleep every night, where you will wake up every morning. This predictability brings deep peace to your soul. Perhaps this peace is the most important foundation of the civilization you will build here. In this pause, perhaps you too are wondering, how will future generations remember this story? 9,000 years later, what will people think when they excavate these lands and find your traces? The answer to this question is unknown for now, but you, as a silent part of this great story, continue to live each day. And perhaps this is the most beautiful part, that this story is still being written. In Çatalhöyük, as the first rays of morning light filter through the roof of your house. Below, the mud bricks your neighbor prepared for his house are drying in the sun, but you haven't woken up yet, because in this city, entry to houses is not through a door, but through the roof. Throughout the night, you slept peacefully with your family within the warm walls of your home. Now, as you slowly wake up, sunbeams filtering through the opening above caress your face. This morning you are especially excited because you and your family will be making new paintings on the walls of your house. In Çatalhöyük, every house is like a work of art. The walls are used not only to provide shelter, but also to tell the story of the family. This morning you too will inscribe your own story on the walls. These paintings are not just for decoration, they are a mirror reflecting your worldview, beliefs and dreams. The interior of your house is much more spacious than it appears from the outside. It is a single room, but this room is designed to accommodate every aspect of life. In one corner is the platform where you sleep, in another the hearth where you cook, and on the wall are niches where you store your belongings. Everything, when brought together, creates perfect harmony. This design has been developed over centuries of trial and error and has now become an almost perfect living space. As you make the first brushstroke on the wall, you try to depict the power of the bull with the red paint in your hand. This bull is not just an animal, it is a symbol of power, fertility, and the untamed energy of nature. By inviting this energy into your home, you establish a spiritual connection for your family's protection and to live in abundance. Every brushstroke is like a prayer. Every color is like a hope. Your neighbors are also busy painting the walls of their own homes, but everyone's style is different. And some draw geometric shapes, some hunting scenes, and some mythological creatures. This diversity shows how creative a society Çatalhöyük was. Here, art is not the privilege of the elite. Every family can turn their home into a work of art. This is perhaps one of the earliest examples of the democratization of art. As midday approaches, you take a short break on the roof. From here you can see all of Çatalhöyük. The roofs of hundreds of houses look like a single large plate. People jump from roof to roof, children run around, women dry laundry. The roofs replace the streets here. This is perhaps one of the most creative examples of urban planning. While utilizing space on Earth with maximum efficiency, it doesn't isolate people from one another. This unique structural system is not only practical, but also very logical in terms of security. If there is any danger, defense is much easier since the entrances to the houses are not visible from the outside. Furthermore, it is an ideal system for protection from snow and cold during winter months. Since the houses are adjacent to each other, heat loss remains at a minimum. Every detail has been considered to sustain life in this challenging geography. As evening approaches, you gather with your family inside your home. The painting process was tiring today, but the result is wonderful. Your walls are no longer just a mixture of mud and straw. They have become a reflection of your family's soul. These paintings will tell future generations who you were. Centuries later, archaeologists will look at these paintings and try to understand your lifestyle, beliefs, and artistic taste. As night falls, you look at the stars from the roof of your house. These are the same stars your ancestors looked at, but now you see them from a different perspective, because you now have a settled life, and these stars are no longer navigation tools for you, but rather a calendar providing clues about time and seasons. This change is not just a practical transformation, it also signifies as a redefinition of the relationship between humans and nature. On these roofs, not only your own family lives, your neighbors are also there, and these neighborly relationships are closer than ever before in nomadic life. Every evening, your neighbors' children play on your roof, and you are a guest on their roof. This closeness creates new social dynamics. The boundaries of privacy are now redrawn, and social rules are shaped to suit this new way of life. These hours when children play by jumping from roof to roof are perhaps the first systematic examples of childhood games. These games are not just for entertainment, they are also very important for children to adapt to social life and develop their motor skills. The open structure of the roofs creates an ideal environment for children's socialization. You are no longer just a child of your own family, you are a child of the entire community. Your elderly grandfather constantly talks about this change in evening conversations. He spent his childhood in tents and was constantly migrating. According to him, this new way of life is miraculous because now you sleep in a safe place every night. But at the same time, this safety comes at a cost. You can no longer move freely and do not live entirely tied to the rhythms of nature. This dilemma constantly occupies your grandfather's mind. This dilemma affects not only your grandfather but the entire community. While this new way of life offers great advantages, it also creates new problems. Diseases spread more rapidly, social conflicts increase, and resource management becomes more difficult. But despite all these challenges, Çatalhöyük continues to grow. This is perhaps an indication of how suitable this way of life is for human nature. Tonight, as you sleep in the warmth of your home, you dream of flying from roof to roof. This dream is not just a fantasy, it is also a reflection of the feeling of freedom that this way of life gives you. Because you are no longer living in just a physical space, this dream perhaps reflects the deepest truth of Çatalhöyük, that everyone here is connected and everyone's story is intertwined with the stories of others. In the early hours of the morning, even before the sun rises, you wake up. This early awakening has become a habit, because the most beautiful hours of the day were these silent moments before everyone else woke up. Sitting alone on the roof, you feel this mystical atmosphere over Çatalhöyük. As the mists slowly dissipate, the silhouette of this ancient city emerges. This morning, you are particularly thoughtful because you spoke with your elderly grandfather last night. He had told you, these houses are not just shelters, they are reflections of our souls. These words had left a deep impression on your mind. Indeed, every painting, every color on the walls of your home reflects a part of your soul. This is perhaps the greatest gain of this way of life, the freedom for humans to express themselves. As the sun begins to rise, You hear your neighbors also beginning to stir. The sounds of children, the sounds of women's morning preparations, the conversations of men planning the day's work. These sounds are now like an orchestra for you. Every sound is a part of this great symphony, and you are both a listener and a performer in this symphony. After breakfast, you and your family begin the final touches on your home. The wall paintings are almost finished. These paintings are becoming a work of art that will be seen not only in our time, but also by future generations. Perhaps centuries later, other people will look at these paintings and try to understand what you felt, what you believed, what you experienced. This thought gives you a great sense of responsibility. At midday, resting on the roof, you examine the other houses around. Each house has its own distinct character. Some have more colorful walls, others are simpler. Some have more belongings on their roofs, others less. This diversity shows how rich a society Çatalhöyük was. There is no uniformity here. Everyone can preserve their individuality. This diversity is not only visual, but also functional. Some houses are used more for manufacturing, some more as living spaces. Some houses host ceremonial activities, others are reserved entirely for private life. This functional diversity is an indicator of the city's dynamic structure. Çatalhöyük is not a static settlement, but a living organism that is constantly evolving and changing. In the afternoon, while playing on the roof with the neighbors' children, you see how naturally they adapt to this way of life. For them, jumping from roof to roof is as easy as walking normally. This adaptation is perhaps one of the finest examples of human adaptability. Each generation lives in better conditions than the last and passes these improvements on to the next. As evening approaches, you gather with your family inside your home. Looking at the wall paintings you completed today, you feel proud. These paintings are no longer just paint, they are concrete representations of your family's identity, belief, and imagination. This pride is not just personal, but also communal, because being able to create such a beautiful work shows the high cultural level of the entire community. As night falls, you look down from your roof one last time at the life below. This view is now very familiar to you, but despite being familiar, it is still captivating, because this view is not just a physical sight. It is a living testament to humanity's creativity and will to live together. Every time you look, you feel lucky to be a part of this great achievement. Tonight, as you lie inside your home, you notice how the paintings on your walls seem to come alive in the dim light. While these paintings
appear calm during the day, they seem to move at night.
This is perhaps the magic of art, its ability to change with time and light. This variability seems to reflect the dynamic nature of your own life. As sleep gently embraces you, you carry the peace of this night in your heart. Every night you spend in Çatalhöyük becomes more peaceful than the last. This peace doesn't just come from physical security, it also comes from the sense of belonging you feel as part of this community. This sense of belonging is perhaps one of humanity's most fundamental needs. At the end of this night, you dream new dreams for tomorrow. Perhaps you will decorate another corner of your house. Perhaps you will start a new project with your neighbors. Or perhaps you will simply enjoy this beautiful life. These dreams, however simple, are a sign of your hope for the future. And this hope is one of Çatalhöyük's most precious treasures. In your dreams tonight, the walls of your house expand, and you walk through an endless art gallery. In this gallery, there are not only your paintings, but also the works of all the people of Çatalhöyük. Each work tells a different story, but altogether they become parts of a great epic. This epic is the epic of humanity's creativity and its will to live together, and you are one of the main characters in this epic. This morning in Çatalhöyük, There's a different energy in the air. The atmosphere is filled with a mystical anticipation, and everyone is preparing their special ceremonial attire. Today is the day of one of the great ceremonies dedicated to the Mother Goddess, and you, along with your family, will participate in this sacred ritual. You feel that the goddess figures on the walls of your home look more vibrant this morning. It's as if they, too, are aware of this special day and are preparing to celebrate with you. In the early hours of the morning, you kneel before the small goddess figurine in the most sacred corner of your home. This figurine is one of your most precious possessions, inherited from your grandmother. Shaped from clay, it has been protected by the women of your family for thousands of years. As you hold it in your hands, you feel its warmth. This warmth is not just clay, it is the accumulated energy from the hands that have touched this figurine for generations. The Mother Goddess is the most powerful being in your world. She is not just a deity. She is also the source of life, the symbol of fertility, and the controller of death. Everyone in your family, including you, seeks her guidance at every stage of your daily lives. You thank her when you wake up in the morning and ask for her protection when you go to bed at night. This devotion is not just faith, it is also a way to cope with life's challenges. This morning, as you prepare for the special ceremony, you paint your body with sacred paints. Red represents the power of life. White, purity and spirituality. Black symbolizes death and rebirth. These colors are not just for aesthetic purposes, they are tools that strengthen the connection between you and the goddess. Each color allows you to communicate with a different aspect of her. The drum beats from neighboring houses herald the approaching ceremony. These drums are not just musical instruments, they are one of the most important tools for communicating with the goddess. The drum sounds imitate the heartbeat, symbolizing the rhythm of life. This rhythm takes you out of the routine of daily life and transports you to a spiritual dimension. You are no longer just a person living in Çatalhöyük. You are a part of the grand plan of the universe. As you walk towards the ceremonial area, you observe the other participants around you. Everyone's face holds the same sacred fervor. This fervor is not just individual, it is also communal, because the Ise ceremonies are not just for worshipping the goddess. They also serve to strengthen social unity and build a common identity. This evening, all of you will not just be individuals, but children of the Mother Goddess. The ceremonial area is the most sacred place in Çatalhöyük. It was specifically built for this purpose, and its walls are adorned with the most beautiful paintings. These paintings depict the goddess's role in every stage of life: birth, growth, maturity, death, and rebirth. This cycle applies not only to human life, but also to nature and the entire universe. You, too, as part of this great cycle, are preparing to play your role. The ritual leader is an elderly and wise woman. She has maintained special communication with the goddess for years and shares this knowledge with the community. The authority in her voice comes not only from her age, it also comes from her spiritual power and social prestige. When she speaks, everyone listens carefully because her words are accepted as messages from the goddess. When the ceremony begins, you first perform a purification ritual. This ritual symbolizes cleansing from the impurities of daily life. Not only physical, but also spiritual impurities, anger, jealousy, greed, and other negative emotions dissipate with this ritual. In this purification process, you feel reborn. You are no longer an ordinary person, but a temple standing in the sacred presence of the goddess. In the second phase, offerings are made. These offerings are a way of showing gratitude to the goddess, but also a method of attracting her bounty. You place your offering brought from this year's most beautiful wheat ears on the altar stone. This wheat is not just food, it is the joint product of the earth's fertility, the sun's power, and your labor. By making this offering, you express your respect for life's complex balance. The third stage is dance and music. This dance is not just for entertainment, it is a vehicle for a mystical union with the goddess. As you dance, your body vibrates with her energy. Every movement is a prayer. Every step is an act of worship. During this dance, you feel yourself in the arms of the goddess. She protects you, guides you, and gives you strength. You cannot describe this feeling with anything, but it is one of the most real experiences in your life. During the dance, you establish a mystical bond with the other participants around you. Everyone now moves in the same rhythm, with the same energy. This unity is not only physical, it is also spiritual. All of you, as children of the goddess, become part of the same cosmic dance. These moments are when the Catal Huyuk community is most united. Here, social class, economic status, or individual differences lose their importance. At the climax of the ceremony, the ritual leader conveys the goddess's message. This message typically contains prophecies about the future, communal guidance, or individual advice. This year, the message is particularly hopeful. The goddess announces that Çatalhöyük will experience prosperous years, harvests will be abundant, and the community will live in peace. Everyone who hears this message rejoices greatly because the goddess's words never lie. As the ceremony concludes, all of you recite a final prayer together. This prayer consists of sacred words passed down through generations. Each word carries deep meanings, and as you utter them, you form a strong bond with the past. This prayer is not just a part of that moment, but also of eternity. You, too, as a link in this eternal chain, participate in this sacredness by playing your role. When the ceremony ends, everyone prepares to return home. But this return is not like leaving home in the morning. Everyone now returns carrying the blessing and protection of the goddess. This blessing is not only spiritual, but also practical, because these ceremonies strengthen social solidarity and enable people to support each other more. When you return home, you share memories of the ceremony with your family. Everyone has had different experiences, but all are part of the same sacred atmosphere. This sharing is a way of carrying the ceremony's effect into daily life. Now, this sacred energy is not only in the ceremonial area, but also in your home. This is perhaps the most important function of rituals, to bring the sacred into everyday life. As night approaches, you look at the goddess paintings on your walls with different eyes. This morning they were just pictures. Now, they seem like living beings. This change is not just perceptual. The energy created by the ceremony seems to have truly brought these paintings to life. Now, every corner of your home is filled with the presence of the goddess. Tonight, before sleeping, you recite a special prayer of gratitude. This prayer is not only for the goddess, but also for everyone who made this ceremony possible. From the ritual leader to the musicians, from the dancers to the ordinary participants, everyone contributed to this sacred experience. This contribution then is one of the most beautiful aspects of communal living, everyone coming together for the common good. As sleep gently embraces you, you know you will encounter the goddess in your dreams. These dreams are not just fantasies, they are a way of communicating specially with the goddess. In your dream tonight, she will give you clues about the future, guide you, and perhaps give you a special task. These dreams will contain sacred messages that you will remember when you wake up in the morning and use as a guide throughout your life. In the depths of this night, a mystical atmosphere prevails over Çatalhöyük. Messages whispered by the mother goddess in the wind mingle with the dreams of sleeping people. These whispers do not belong only to that night. They will continue for generations and form the foundation of Çatalhöyük's spiritual tradition. You, too, as one of the bearers of this great tradition, continue your sacred duty even while you sleep. When the morning sun rises, the effect of last night's ceremony is still upon you. This effect will last for days, even weeks. Because these ceremonies are not just events that happen in one night, they are inseparable parts of a way of life and a worldview. This morning, too, carrying the blessing of the goddess, you begin a new day, and this blessing encompasses not only you, but all of Çatalhöyük. This morning's peace is the most beautiful gift of yesterday's ceremony. This peace is not only individual, but also communal, because everyone, having shared the same sacred experience, has formed stronger bonds with each other. These bonds make it easier to cope with the challenges encountered in daily life. You are no longer alone. Under the protection of the Mother Goddess, you are part of a large family. After breakfast, you and your family arrange the sacred corner of your home. You want to feel the energy of yesterday's ceremony here too. The goddess figurine, flowers, candles, and other sacred objects are the elements that make this corner special. This corner is not just a decoration, it is the heart of your home and the spiritual center of your family. The hours you spend here allow you to get away from the stress of daily life and find inner peace. During the time you spend in this sacred corner, you engage in personal dialogues with the goddess. These dialogues are not just prayers, they are like real conversations. You ask her your questions, and she answers in her own ways, sometimes through a dream, sometimes through signs that seem like coincidences, and sometimes simply through an inner knowing. This communication is one of the most valuable experiences of your life. As midday approaches, you chat with your neighbors about yesterday's ceremony. Everyone has experienced different moments, but all are part of the same sacred atmosphere. These conversations are a way to prolong the effect of the ceremony and strengthen communal sharing. Now, not only individual experiences, but also a collective memory is forming. This memory will be passed down to future generations and ensure the continuity of Çatalhöyük's spiritual tradition. In these conversations, children show special interest. They are curious about the depths of these sacred rituals, which they cannot yet fully comprehend. You and the other adults provide explanations that feed this curiosity, because these children will be the future continuers of these traditions. Every piece of information you pass on to them is critically important for the preservation of this sacred heritage. In the afternoon, while working in your home's garden, you see that the goddess's blessing is indeed working. The plants appear greener, the flowers more vibrant, and the fruit trees more fruitful. This is perhaps a psychological effect, but you believe in its reality, because faith sometimes has the power to create reality. The positive energy given by this belief affects every area of your life. This bounty is not only physical, but also relational. After yesterday's ceremony, your relationships with your neighbors are stronger, your bonds with your family are deeper, your communication with your children is more meaningful. This is one of the most valuable gifts of the ceremony, its ability to strengthen human relationships. This strengthening makes every problem encountered in daily life easier to resolve. As evening approaches, sitting on the roof of your house, you feel this mystical atmosphere over Çatalhöyük. Last night's ceremony was not limited to that evening. It created a wave of energy that affected the entire city. This wave touched every house, every family, every individual. Now, Çatalhöyük is not just a physical settlement. It has become a spiritual center. As night falls, you go downstairs to join your family. Tonight's dinner will be a special meal celebrating the bounty of yesterday's ceremony. This meal is not just for nourishment, it is also a way of expressing gratitude to the goddess. Every bite is a thank you, every sip is a prayer. This meal is one of those moments that bring the sacred together with daily life. After dinner, the family listens to sacred stories together. These stories are legends passed down through generations, telling of the goddess's miracles. Tonight's story is particularly striking. It tells how, a very long time ago, during a great famine, the goddess saved her people. This story is not just a memory of the past, it is also a source of hope for the future, because the goddess protected her people then, and she continues to protect them now. As you conclude this night, your heart is filled with gratitude. Yesterday's ceremony has given new meaning to your life. Your bond with the goddess has grown stronger. Your relationship with the community has deepened. And most importantly, you have rediscovered the sacred dimension of life. This discovery guides you towards a happier, more peaceful, and more meaningful life. At the end of this night, you are filled with new intentions for tomorrow. These intentions are not just personal goals, they are also promises you make to live in accordance with the goddess's wishes. These promises will shape your lifestyle and strengthen your character. Tonight, in the shadow of the Mother Goddess, you sleep as a new person. This morning in Çatalhöyük, you are experiencing one of those magical moments where your hands meet clay. At your pottery wheel, prepared in the corner of your house, an unshaped mound of clay awaits your creativity. This clay is not just earth, it is a treasure embodying thousands of years of experience, awaiting the touch of lead hands. This morning, using the techniques you learned from your ancestors, you will transform this clay into art. As you prepare the clay, you feel its texture. The moisture content must be just right, neither too dry nor too wet. This balance is learned through years of experience. According to the secrets you learned from your grandmother, you mix a small amount of sand and pine needles into the clay. This mixture will prevent the pot from cracking during firing. Every movement of yours is a reflection of knowledge passed down through generations. At the first touch, the clay feels soft and warm in your hands. This warmth is not just physical, but also spiritual, because this clay comes from the sacred lands of Çatalhöyük and carries the blessing of the Mother Goddess within it. As your hands move, it's as if you are having a silent dialogue with her. She tells you her form, and you give her the shape she desires. This collaboration is art in its purest form. When you begin to shape the pot, your mind is entirely focused on this task. External sounds, the anxieties of daily life, even the flow of time lose their importance. There is only you, the clay, and the process of creation. This state is perhaps one of the oldest forms of meditation. While the hands work, the mind rests, and the soul finds peace. This peace is the most natural way to escape the stress of daily life. As you shape the base of the pot, you take care to maintain symmetry. This symmetry is important not only aesthetically, but also functionally. If the base is not balanced, the pot could fall and break. This balance is also a fundamental rule of life itself. Everything needs to be in balance, work and rest, individuality and communal living, past and future. You too symbolically create this balance as you make pottery. As you begin to raise the walls, every movement must be calculated. If you move too fast, the clay collapses. If you are too slow, it dries and cannot be shaped. This rhythm must be in harmony with the rhythm of nature, just like life itself, neither too hurried nor too slow. This rhythm is perhaps the most characteristic feature of Çatalhöyük life. Everything flows naturally, calmly, but resolutely. As you see the pot taking shape, you feel the growing pride within you. This pride doesn't just come from a sense of accomplishment, it also comes from the deep satisfaction of the act of creation. Humankind is a creative being, and when using this creativity, experiences its happiest moments. You, too, are now savoring this happiness. In the middle of your work, neighboring children come and start watching you. The admiration in their eyes motivates you even more. These children will make their own pots in the future and perhaps use your techniques. This thought increases the importance you give to your work, because now you are not just making a pot, you are also teaching future generations. When you take a lunch break, you place the unfinished pot in a protected spot. The clay must be kept moist to maintain its perfect consistency. In the meantime, you move to the painted corner of your house. Today, you will add a new scene to your walls. This scene will be in memory of yesterday's Mother Goddess ceremony. These paintings are not just for decoration. They are documents recording your family's history and experiences. As you prepare the wall paint, you carefully mix natural pigments. You use iron oxide for red, limonite for yellow, manganese for black. Since these colors come from nature, each carries its own unique energy. Red symbolizes life, yellow the sun, and black the earth. As you paint with these colors, you are actually transferring the energy of nature to the walls. As you make the first brushstroke, your heart quickens. This painting is not just a memory of yesterday's ceremony, it is also a legacy you will leave to future generations, centuries. Years later, people will look at this painting and try to understand how you lived, what you believed, what you felt. This responsibility adds a special significance to the brush in your hand. In the first stage of the painting, you begin to draw the figure of the ritual leader. Her demeanor, clothing, and facial expression must reflect the sacred atmosphere of that night. As you draw this figure, you relive your feelings of that moment, the ritual leader's authority, her connection to the goddess, and her service to the community. This drawing is not just artistic, but also possesses documentary value. As the second figure, you depict the dancing people. These dancers were the most impressive moment of the ceremony. The harmony in their movements, the exuberance on their faces, and the energy in their bodies. Transferring this energy to the wall is not easy because a painting is static, but dance is dynamic. But you try to capture this movement with the flow of lines and the vibrancy of colors. In the third stage, you depict the Mother Goddess herself. This is the hardest part because the goddess is invisible, yet also everywhere. How will you draw her? Finally, you decide to portray her as a beam of light. This light illuminates the ceremonial area and encompasses all participants. This solution is both artistically and spiritually satisfying. In the background of the painting, you draw the silhouette of Çatalhöyük. The roofs of the houses, smoke rising from the chimneys, and mountains visible in the distance. This landscape shows the physical context of the ceremony, but it also emphasizes that this sacred event took place precisely in these lands, among these houses. This localized aspect is an important factor that increases the effectiveness of the ceremony. In the late afternoon, the main outlines of the painting are complete. Now it's time to work on the details. These details are the parts that form the soul of the painting. The wisdom in the ritual leader's eyes, the embroideries on the dancer's clothes, the sparkle of the goddess's light. As you these details, you relive every moment of that night. The painting is not just a visual record, but also an emotional journey through time. During this work, you rediscover the power of art. Art is not just about creating beautiful things, It is also about immortalizing experiences, conveying emotions, and sending messages to future generations. When this painting is finished, the energy of that night's ceremony will live on forever in this wall. Everyone who looks at it will feel a part of that sacred atmosphere. As dusk falls, you evaluate the day's work. The pot is beautifully shaped, but not yet finished. The wall painting is progressing as planned. These two art forms are different but complementary. Pottery meets the practical needs of daily life, while wall painting meets spiritual needs. Together, they encompass the entirety of life. This evening, you lie down in bed with the satisfaction that comes from making art. This satisfaction is not just individual, because the works of art you create contribute to the cultural richness of the entire community. In this way, Çatalhöyük becomes not just a settlement, but also an art center. This cultural richness is one of the city's most valuable treasures. Before falling asleep, you examine your hands. These hands have worked with both clay and paint today. These marks are not just dirt, they are evidence of your creativity and labor. These hands will create new works of art tomorrow too. This thought excites you for the future, because creativity is a source that never runs out. In the peace of this night, you continue to make art in your dreams. In your dream, you see the pot shaping itself. Your wall paintings move and come to life. These dreams are a continuation of the creative process. Even when you sleep, your brain continues to develop new art ideas. This is perhaps the most beautiful aspect of an artist's soul. Never-ending creativity. When you wake up in the morning, you feel the fulfillment from yesterday's artistic work. This fulfillment comes not only from the sense of completion, it also stems from the happiness of self-expression and using your creativity. This happiness colors the rest of your day. Even ordinary tasks become more enjoyable. This morning, you start early to finish the pottery. Yesterday's shaping was successful and the clay maintained its perfect consistency. Now it's time to shape the rim of the pot. This part is the most difficult because it must be both functional and aesthetic. It should be easy to use when pouring water, but also pleasing to the eye. Achieving this balance requires true mastery. As you make the handle of the pot, you pay special attention. The handle is not just a practical part, it is also an important detail that determines the pot's character. You make the handle slightly curved so that it is easy to hold, but at the same time you shape it in a way that gives it an elegant appearance. This detail is a perfect combination of functionality and aesthetics. When the pottery work is finished, you leave it in a sunny place to dry. The drying process is also very critical. If it dries too quickly, it can crack. If it dries too slowly, it can deform. This process must occur naturally, and you only need to provide the most suitable conditions. This waiting period reminds you once again how important patience is. While the pot dries, you return to the wall painting. Yesterday's work progressed well, but there are still details that need to be completed. As you add these details, you feel the importance of every brushstroke, because this painting is a work that will be seen not only in this moment but also by future generations. This responsibility encourages you to work more carefully. In one corner of the painting, you decide to draw a small self-portrait. You were also present at yesterday's ceremony, and you should be in this painting. Drawing your own face is a strange but meaningful experience. You try to transfer the reflection you see in the mirror onto the wall, but this is not just a physical resemblance, it must also be a reflection of your soul. As you paint this self-portrait, you reflect on your identity. Who are you? A master potter, a ceremony participant, a family member, an inhabitant of Çatalhöyük. All these identities form your multi-layered personality. And this painting is an attempt to create a visual representation of this complex identity. This effort is perhaps one of art's deepest functions, to create and transmit identity. At midday, your neighbors come and start watching your work. Their comments are both encouraging and instructive. Because art is a communal activity, individual creativity is important, but communal acceptance and appreciation are also necessary. This interaction highlights the social dimension of art. In Çatalhöyük, art is not an isolated activity, but one that is central to communal life. In line with your neighbor's suggestions, you revise some parts of the painting. These revisions show the collaborative nature of art. You are a creator, but you are also a part of your community. Maintaining this balance ensures both individual expression and social harmony. This balance is one of the most valuable characteristics of Çatalhöyük art. In the afternoon, you check the color harmony of the painting. Do the colors match each other? Is the composition balanced? Is the message clearly conveyed? These questions are not just artistic, but also communicative, because this painting will carry a message to future generations. It is critically important that this message is clear and understandable. During this color harmony work, you are reminded again that each color has its own unique meaning. Red symbolizes courage and strength, blue peace and wisdom, green growth and abandon, dance, yellow joy and energy. By using these meanings, you add emotional depth to your painting. Now, your painting has not only a visual, but also an emotional effect. As evening approaches, you evaluate the day's artistic work. The pot has been successfully shaped and is drying. The wall painting is progressing as intended. This success is not just a technical achievement, it is also the success of realizing your creative potential. This feeling of accomplishment is one of the important factors that gives meaning to your life. This evening, as you and your family examine the painting, everyone has different interpretations. These interpretations show the multi-dimensional nature of art. The same work can be perceived in different ways by different people. This diversity is a factor that enriches and keeps art alive. You too, by listening to your family's comments, discover different layers of your work. As the night deepens, you realize that making art is not just an individual activity. It is also a communal responsibility, because every work you create contributes to Çatalhöyük's cultural heritage. This heritage is the city's most valuable treasure. Protecting and developing it is everyone's duty. At the end of this night, you make new art plans for tomorrow. Perhaps you will add special engravings to the pot. Perhaps you will complete another corner of the wall painting. Or perhaps you will start a completely new project. These plans are a sign that your creative spirit never rests. Even while you sleep, your mind continues to develop new art ideas. As you fall asleep, you still feel the energy of the clay and paints that your hands touched today. This energy is not just the energy of the material. It is also the energy of the creation process. This energy will blend into your dreams and perhaps give new inspirations for tomorrow. Art is a process that continues not only when you are awake, but also when you sleep. Tonight, the spirit of art hovers over Çatalhöyük. In every home, someone is creating something: pottery, painting, sculpture, music, or dance. This explosion of creativity is one of the fundamental characteristics that makes the city special. Here, art is not just the privilege of the elite. It is a way of life that everyone can access and participate in. This morning in Çatalhöyük, as you inhale the scent of the earth deeply, you walk towards the fields. In your hands are simple yet effective tools you will use to check the green shoots of the wheat seeds you planted this season. These tools are the product of technology your ancestors developed and perfected over years. Each one is the key to unlocking the earth's secrets and increasing its bounty. When you arrive at the field, the sight fills your heart with joy. Green shoots have emerged from under the soil and are reaching towards the sun. This scene is not just an agricultural success. It is also a symbol of the new relationship humanity has forged with nature. You are no longer just a recipient of nature, but also a producer. This change is a revolutionary transformation affecting every aspect of your life. During this morning's check, you examine each plant individually. You observe which ones are growing healthily, which ones are having problems, and which ones need more water. This observation is not just a technical task. It is also an effort to understand and adapt to the cycle of life. Every plant is like your child, and their health directly affects you. As you work the soil, you use the techniques your grandfather taught you. You must not dig the soil too deeply, as this can damage the roots, but you must keep it loose enough so that the roots can spread easily. This balance is one of the fundamental rules of agriculture, but it is also a fundamental rule of life. Neither too much intervention nor complete neglect. Watering is one of the most enjoyable moments of the day. As you pour water onto the plants, you shall watch them come to life. The leaves straighten, the colors brighten, and the growth rate increases. This change is immediately visible and reminds you how important your work is. Water is the source of life, and by sharing this source with the plants, you become an important link in the chain of life. While working in the field, you can see the flock of sheep grazing in the distance. These sheep are Çatalhöyük's other great achievement, animal domestication. These sheep are no longer wild, but they are not entirely domesticated either. They are living examples of this new relationship between humans and nature. You, too, as part of this relationship, both care for them and benefit from them. As midday approaches, it's time to return home from the fields. But first, you want to record your observations from the day in your mind. Which areas are more fertile? Which techniques are more effective? Which conditions make the plants happier? This information is critically important for future seasons, because agriculture is a science that is constantly learned and developed. As you walk home, you examine the wild herbs you gathered along the way. Some of these herbs are edible, some are medicinal, and some are harmful. Distinguishing this information is vitally important. You too develop this knowledge which you learned from your grandmother by combining it with your own experiences. This accumulation of knowledge is a treasure not only personal but also communal. While preparing lunch in your home, you use the green herbs you gathered this morning. These herbs add not only flavor but also nutrition to the meal. This mixture has been developed through generations of experience. Each herb is used for a specific purpose, and all have their own unique benefits. This knowledge is one of the factors that directly affects the quality of your life. At lunch, the family discusses the morning's fieldwork. These discussions are not just about sharing information, they are also moments when future plans are shaped. You plan which areas to expand, which to date. You plants to try, which techniques to develop. These plans form the basis of Çatalhöyük's agricultural success. In the afternoon, you go to the stable for animal care. This stable is directly beneath your house, allowing you to have close contact with the animals. Sheep, goats, and cattle are now like members of your family. You know their needs, recognize their characters, and have formed a special bond with them. This bond is not only economic, but also emotional. As you feed the animals, you observe how they adapt to this new way of life. They too, like humans, are transitioning from wild to domesticated life. This transition is sometimes easy, sometimes difficult, but ultimately a mutually beneficial relationship is established for both animals and humans. This relationship is perhaps the most beautiful example of harmony with nature. As you milk the sheep, you reflect on what a miracle this simple act is. This milk is not just food, it is also a symbol of the continuity of life. The mother sheep, who produced milk to feed her lamb, now shares it with humans as well. This sharing is based on mutual trust and love. You, too, do your best to protect this trust. As you work with the cattle, you ponder how to utilize their strength. These large animals can provide great help in plowing fields and carrying loads, but to gain this help, you need to establish a special communication with them. This communication is not just about commands, it is also based on mutual respect and understanding. As evening approaches, you move the animals to the secure sections of the stable. There is a risk of predator attack at night, and you bear the responsibility of protecting them. This responsibility is not only economic, it is also a moral responsibility, because these animals have trusted you and expect your protection. At dinner, the family evaluates the day's agricultural and animal husbandry work. These evaluations are not just daily reports, they are also moments when future strategies are determined. Which areas are more productive, which animals are growing healthier, which techniques are more successful, are discussed. These discussions are the platforms where Çatalhöyük's agricultural knowledge is developed. In this evening's conversations, your elderly grandfather's experiences hold special importance. He has worked these lands for years and faced all kinds of difficulties. His advice is not only technical, but also philosophical. Be a friend to the earth. Do not force it, he says. Love the animals, and they will love you too. These simple yet profound counsels show that agriculture has not only a technical, but also a spiritual dimension. In the silence of this night, you listen to the animal sounds coming from the stable. These sounds are now very familiar to you. Each animal has its unique sound, and you can recognize them. Some are uncomfortable, some are happy, some are sleepy. These sounds are like an orchestra to you. The music of life is adorned with these natural sounds. Before falling asleep, you reflect on today's successes. The plants are growing healthily, the animals look happy, and as a family, you are enjoying this abundant life. This success is not only yours, but also the result of the Mother Goddess's blessing. This thought fills you with a sense of gratitude. Tonight, in your dreams, you run through green valleys with endless fields. In these fields, all kinds of plants grow: wheat, barley, lentils, peas. And you, in the midst of this bounty, touch the earth with your hands and feel its energy. This dream is not just a fantasy. It is also the spiritual reflection of the deep satisfaction that agricultural life provides. In your dream, you can talk to animals. They tell you the secrets of the lands, which areas are more fertile, where water sources are located, how to interpret seasonal changes. This information consists of practical advice you receive in the dream world, but can apply in real life when you wake up in the morning. When the morning sun rises, you wake up with the satisfaction provided by yesterday's agricultural work. This satisfaction is not only after physical fatigue, it also includes the spiritual fulfillment that comes from doing creative and productive work. This fulfillment positively affects the rest of the day. Even the most ordinary tasks become meaningful. This morning, as you go to the stable, you notice how the animals greet you. They now recognize and trust you. This trust is a slowly built but very precious bond. The animals do not see you as a threat. On the contrary, they accept you as a protector and provider. This acceptance is perhaps the most critical stage of the domestication process. The morning feeding routine is not just about giving food, it is also a time to interact individually with each animal. Some need more attention, some have health issues, and some have special dietary needs. This individual approach is a method that is difficult to implement even in modern animal husbandry, but developed naturally in Çatalhöyük. This morning, you are especially happy to see the newborn lamb. This new life is not just the growth of the flock, it is also a symbol of the continuity and bounty of life. This tiny creature is only a few days old, but has already clung to life and begun to grow. Watching it, you are reminded again how miraculous life is. When you return to the field at midday, you begin the irrigation process. This process is not just about giving water. It is also about taking care of each plant individually. Which one needs more water, which one's soil is drier, which one's roots are deeper. This detailed attention ensures healthier growth for the plants, but also gives you great satisfaction. During this watering, observing the effect of water on plants is formong, cynating. Thirsty leaves straighten as soon as they come into contact with water. Faded colors brighten. The growth rate increases. This change shows how powerful the force of life is. You, too, as a catalyst for this power, become a critical part of the life cycle. In the afternoon, you start the composting work. This work is the art of transforming waste into valuable resources. Kitchen scraps, animal manure, and rotten plants, with the right mixture, become excellent fertilizer. This transformation process is a small-scale example of nature's cyclical structure. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes a source of new life. During this composting work, you reflect on the cycle of decay and rebirth. Death is not just an end, it is also the door to new beginnings. This understanding carries deep meanings not only agriculturally but also philosophically. You, too, as part of this cycle, mediate both endings and beginnings. As evening approaches, you gather the day's harvest. This harvest is not yet the seasonal harvest, but there are fresh herbs and early vegetables. These fresh products will be the most valuable ingredients for tonight's dinner. As you gather them, you feel your gratitude for the generosity of the earth. This gratitude is not only emotional but also practical, because a grateful person uses their resources more carefully. During this evening's harvest, you observe each product's unique signs of ripeness, which leaves are ready to be picked, which fruits are fully ripe, which roots have grown sufficiently. This observational ability develops over years of experience and is one of the most important factors in agricultural success. You, too, improve this ability a little more each day. As you return home, you inhale the scent of the fresh produce in your arms. These scents are not just the smell of food, they are a special aroma, a mixture of your labor, the earth's bounty, and nature's generosity. This aroma makes everyone at home happy and increases the excitement for dinner. In preparing dinner, you plan how best to utilize these fresh products. Some will be eaten raw, some cooked, and some dried and stored. This variety is important for enriching the diet, but it is also valuable for discovering the different properties of the products. During this preparation, you realize that cooking is also an art. It requires the right heat, the right timing, and the right blend of spices. These skills are a body of knowledge passed down through generations and constantly evolving. You, too, by adding your own experiences to this knowledge, are creating a legacy that you will pass on to future generations. At dinner, the family enjoys today's harvest while discussing future plans. Which crops can be planted more? Which areas need improvement? Which new techniques can be tried? These discussions are the engine of Catal Huyuk's continually developing agricultural capacity. After dinner, you tell your children what you learned today. This telling is not just about transferring knowledge, it is also an effort to increase their interest in agriculture and ensure they continue this work in the future. These children are the future bearers of Çatalhöyük's agricultural tradition. Every piece of information you give them is critically important for the preservation of this tradition. As night falls, you look from the roof of your house towards the fields. Even in the darkness, you feel the presence of those green shoots. They will continue to grow throughout the night. Under the moonlight, their roots will deepen, their leaves will expand. This growth is the product of your labor, continuing even while you sleep. Tonight's peace is a deep satisfaction derived from a productive day. This satisfaction is not only materialistic, it also includes the spiritual fulfillment that comes from finding purpose in life. You, as not only a consumer but also a producer, contribute to the balance of life. Before falling asleep, you think about tomorrow's plans, which areas you will cultivate, which animals you will care for, which new techniques you will try. These plans, though seemingly simple, are actually very strategic, because agriculture and animal husbandry are activities that require long-term planning. The decisions you make today will affect you for months, even years. At the end of this night, you understand that abundance is not just something that comes from outside. It is also a value created by the combination of effort, knowledge, patience, and love. You, too, as the main actor in this creation process, bear the responsibility for both individual and communal abundance. This responsibility makes you proud and humble at the same time. As you drift off to sleep, you still feel the scent of the earth in your hands. This scent is not just the smell of soil. It is a special aroma, a mixture of your labor, love, and hope. This scent will blend into your dreams and perhaps give new inspirations for tomorrow. Because agriculture is not just a physical job, it is also a spiritual journey. This morning in Çatalhöyük, the air is heavy and silent. In the corner of your house, your elderly grandfather's voice is no longer heard, for last night he took his last breath. You, along with your family, are trying to accept his departure from this world in peace. Death in Çatalhöyük is not something to be feared. It is part of the natural cycle of life, and your grandfather's time to complete this cycle has come. In the early hours of the morning, you perform the final care for your grandfather's body. This care is not only hygienic, but also a spiritual preparation. His body is painted with sacred paints and dressed in his finest clothes. This preparation is the last gift for his soul to depart in peace. You, too, help as much as you can in this sacred process. As your grandfather's body is prepared, you recall his life. He witnessed the founding of Çatalhöyük, played an active role in the city's development, and passed on knowledge for generations. In his memory there were hundreds of stories, thousands of experiences, and countless accumulated pieces of knowledge. Now this treasure passes with him to another dimension, but it will also continue to live on in your and your family's memory. The burial ceremony holds a very special meaning in Çatalhöyük, because here the dead are not buried outside the city. On the contrary, they are buried beneath the houses next to the living. This tradition aims to integrate death with life, rather than separating it. Your grandfather, too, will be buried in the sacred area beneath your home, and thus will continue to live as the family's guardian spirit. As preparations for the grave begin, you start opening the floor of your house. This work is physically difficult, but also emotionally heavy. Every stroke of the shovel is a step in bidding farewell to your grandfather, but at the same time it is also a part of the necessary preparation for him to begin his new journey. This preparation is the special form of mourning in Çatalhöyük. As the grave pit is dug, you see old remains emerging from the earth. These remains are the traces of other family members who lived and died in this house before. This site is not eerie. On the contrary, it is comforting, because your grandfather will not be alone. He will take his place beside his ancestors, among the guardian spirits of the family. During this excavation process, you reflect on death's place in Çatalhöyük's philosophy. Here, death is not an end, it is the beginning of transformation. As the physical body mixes with the earth, the soul continues to live in a different dimension. This belief facilitates the grieving process and teaches how to live at peace with death. When the placing in the grave ceremony begins, the entire family and close neighbors gather. This community is not just to say goodbye, it gathers to collectively bid farewell to your grandfather's soul. This collective energy gives strength to both the deceased and the living. Death ceases to be an individual event and becomes a communal experience. As you place your grandfather's body in the grave, you recall the most beautiful memories you shared with him, the farming techniques he taught you, the stories he told, the life advice he gave. These memories do not vanish with his death. On the contrary, they become even more valuable in your life. This value is perhaps one of death's paradoxes, that it increases the value of what we have lost. You place special belongings on the grave, his favorite pot, the tools he used, and his sacred objects. These items are given to guide him on his spiritual journey, but they are also important in symbolizing his role in life. These items will tell future generations who he was. During the ceremony, the ritual leader recites special prayers. These prayers are for the peace of the deceased soul and the comfort of the living. These prayers are sacred texts passed down through generations, and every word carries deep meanings. As you participate in these prayers, you feel you are communicating with your grandfather's soul one last time. As the grave is covered, despite the physical finality of the act, you feel your grandfather's presence continue. He is now in a different form, but still with the family. This feeling does not stem solely from solace. The integration of death with life in Çatalhöyük truly allows the departed to continue their presence. When the ceremony ends, everyone returns home, but this return is not an ordinary one. Everyone now confronts the reality of death and the preciousness of life more deeply. This confrontation adds a different perspective to daily life. Every moment becomes more valuable, every relationship more meaningful. At dinner, the family shares memories of your grandfather. These memories are not just recollections of the past, they are also valuable pieces of advice that serve as a guide for the future. His experiences become part of the family's collective memory. This memory is a treasure not only individual, but also communal. During this sharing, the children show special interest. They listen eagerly to your grandfather's stories and add their own memories. These memories are the most beautiful way to connect generations. Children inherit your grandfather's wisdom while also having the chance to interpret it in their own lives. As night approaches, knowing your grandfather lies beneath your home is a strange yet comforting feeling. He is now truly a part of the family. His physical presence has ended, but his spiritual presence has grown stronger. This presence will guide you in your daily life and give you strength in difficult moments. Tonight, before falling asleep, you have a silent conversation with your grandfather. This conversation, though seemingly one-sided, is actually two-way. You express your gratitude to him, and he responds to you in his own ways. These responses sometimes come as a gentle breeze, sometimes a feeling of warmth, and sometimes just as an inner knowing. During this conversation, you realize that death is not just a physical event. It is also a process where relationships transform but do not completely end. Your relationship with your grandfather has not ended. It has simply moved to a different dimension. This dimension might even be purer and more meaningful. As the night deepens, you feel the mystical energy coming from beneath your house. This energy is not only your grandfather's, but the combined energy of all your ancestors lying there. This energy fills the house with a protective and nurturing force. Now your home has not only physical but also spiritual protection. Tonight, as sleep gently embraces you, you almost hear your grandfather's voice. He whispers to you how to live life, how to cope with difficulties, how to keep your hope alive. These whispers blend into your dreams and become valuable advice that you will remember when you wake up in the morning. In your dream, you walk through the streets of Çatalhöyük with your grandfather. But these are not physical streets. They are spiritual paths formed by memories and experiences. On this journey, he shows you the true secrets of the city, how people lived, why they lived this way, how the future will be shaped. In this dream journey, you discover that death is actually a door. This door allows passage from the physical world to the spiritual world. Your grandfather, too, has passed through this door and attained a new form of existence. He is now not just an individual, but a part of the collective consciousness of the family. When you wake up in the morning, you have gained a different perspective due to the impact of this dream. Death no longer seems terrifying to you. On the contrary, you see it as the completion of life and the beginning of a new experience. This perspective adds a different quality to your daily life. You now live every moment more consciously and value relationships more deeply. This morning, you offer a short prayer at your grandfather's grave. This prayer is not only for his soul, it is also for the living to be at peace with death. This peace is one of the most valuable gains of Çatalhöyük life. Here, people learn to live in harmony with death instead of fearing it. This morning in Çatalhöyük, there is a different energy in the air. The wind, bearing news of change, blows, and people gather in the streets with anxious expressions on their faces. As you look down from the roof of your house, you understand the reason for this anxiety. Because Çatalhöyük, during this last visit, as you touch the earth, you make a silent farewell to it. This land has given you so much. Food, shelter, security, and identity. Now, it too needs rest. Perhaps years from now, these lands will become fertile again. But by then, you will not be here. The moment of saying goodbye to your animals is the most emotional. These animals have been a part of your family for years. The bond you formed with them is not only economic but also emotional. Now you either have to take them with you or leave them with other families. This decision is fraught with both practical and emotional difficulties. As you give the sheep to another family, you see the confusion in their eyes. They don't understand this change but respect the decision of the person they trust. This trust increases your responsibility. You must give them to a place where they will be best cared for. This responsibility alleviates the pain of separation somewhat. As evening approaches, you make the final arrangements in your home. Which belongings to take, which to leave behind, which to give to your neighbors. These choices are not just practical, they are also decisions about which memories to carry with you and which to leave here. These decisions are the first steps in reshaping your identity. During this preparation, you look at the paintings on the walls of your house one last time. These paintings tell your and your family's story. Since you cannot take them with you, a part of this story will remain here. But at the same time, you will also have the opportunity to create new stories in a new place. This perhaps is the most valuable aspect of change, that it opens doors to new beginnings. In the silence of the night, you ponder how Çatalhöyük confronted this change. The city does not forcefully retain its people. On the contrary, it supports them in finding better living conditions.
In this last field visit, as you touch the earth with your hands, you thank it. This land has taught you not only food, but also the meaning of life, to work it, to be its friend, to learn from it. These experiences have played a very important role in shaping your character. At midday, you say your final goodbyes to your neighbors. This farewell is painful but also meaningful, because these neighborly relationships were one of the most valuable aspects of life in Çatalhöyük. These relationships taught you the subtleties of communal living and shaped your character. During this farewell, you recall the beautiful moments you shared with your friends, the projects you worked on together, the joys you shared, the difficult times you supported each other through. These memories will continue to live in your hearts, no matter the distance. In the afternoon, as you pack your last belongings, you try to decide what to take and what to leave behind. This decision is not just practical. It is also a decision about which memories to carry with you and which past to leave behind. This choice will play a critical role in shaping your new life, Among your most valuable possessions are the pots you made with your own hands. These pots are not just utilitarian items, they are also proof of your creative talent and artistic skill. Taking them with you is not just carrying belongings, it also means carrying a part of your identity. As you look at the paintings on the walls of your home for the last time, you feel a great sense of nostalgia. These paintings tell your and your family's story. Since you cannot take them with you, a part of this story will remain here. But at the same time, you will also have the chance to create new stories in a new place. In the evening, you eat your last dinner in Çatalhöyük. This meal is not just for nourishment, it is also a way to honor your bond with.
In your dream, you also see what the people who migrated from Çatalhöyük achieved in new places. They will carry the knowledge and techniques they learned here to new lands. This knowledge will develop in different ways in different geographies and contribute to humanity's common heritage. When you wake up in the morning, the day of departure has arrived. This day will be one of the most important turning points in your life, but it is also the beginning of a new adventure. In this adventure, what you learned in Çatalhöyük will guide you, and the strong aspects of your character will support you. As you make the final preparations, your heart is filled with various emotions: sadness, excitement, nostalgia, hope. All these feelings are natural parts of this important transition. You too, accepting this complex spectrum of emotions, step towards your new life. When the moment of departure arrives, you leave your home's door for the last time. This departure is not just physical, it is also a symbolic step you take, leaving your old life and moving towards your new life. This step requires courage, but it also provides great liberation. When you look back from outside Çatalhöyük one last time, you imprint the city's silhouette into your memory. This silhouette is not just architectural, it is also a visual summary of all the experiences you lived here. This image will follow you for the rest of your life and give you strength in difficult moments. As the journey begins, with every step, you move away from the past and closer to the future. This journey is not only geographical, it is also the beginning of a spiritual transformation. What you acquired in Çatalhöyük will emerge in different ways in your new life and make you a stronger person. The most valuable thing you carry with you on this journey is not material possessions, it is the spirit of Çatalhöyük itself. At the end of this night, you understand that Çatalhöyük was not an end, but a transformation. The city may have physically ceased to exist, but its spirit will spread to new places with every person who left it. This spread is perhaps Çatalhöyük's greatest achievement, creating not just a place, but a philosophy of life. In the depths of your dreams, you see the discovery of Çatalhöyük thousands of years later. Archaeologists will examine these remains with great excitement and respect. They will find the pots touched by your hand, the paintings on the walls of your house, your sacred objects in the grave. This discovery will enable a bridge to be built between the past and the future. When the morning sun rises, Çatalhöyük is now far behind. But you continue your journey, carrying it in your heart. This carrying is not just nostalgic, it is also practical, because what you learned there will guide you in your new life. On this new morning, you make plans for the future, which techniques you will apply, which traditions you will maintain, which innovations you will try. These plans seek ways to adapt the teachings of Çatalhöyük to new circumstances. This adaptation is the most important skill for the continuity of life. As the journey continues, you notice the landscape changing, new mountains, new rivers, new horizons. This change, though initially intimidating, gradually becomes exciting. Because every new landscape is a sign of new possibilities. You, too, have an experience ready to seize these possibilities. When you talk to other migrant groups you encounter on this journey, you realize that everyone has experienced similar stories. Everyone has left something behind and set out to find a new life. This shared experience immediately creates a bond between people and makes the journey more bearable. At your evening camp, sitting around the fire with other family, as you drift off to sleep, you eagerly await the new adventures that tomorrow will bring. These adventures, whatever they may not be richer than the experiences you lived in Çatalhöyük. But they will be different, and this difference will carry its own beauty. You too, with a heart and mind ready to discover this beauty, prepare for your new day. And so the story of Çatalhöyük ends, but at the same time it spreads towards eternity. This story is not just a record of what happened in the past. It is also a source of inspiration for what will happen in the future. You too, as both a witness and a creator of this great story, have taken your place in history. On this last night, the stars over Çatalhöyük seem brighter, as if they too are celebrating this great story and shining more powerfully to be a light for future generations. You too, beneath these stars, as you drift into a peaceful sleep, silently journey towards eternity, carrying the constant memory of this unique experience lived 9,000 years ago in your heart. The magical lands of Çatalhöyük are now slowly entering sleep mode. This sleep is not death, it is a period of rest that will last for thousands of years, and one day when humankind rediscovers these lands, these beautiful stories lived here will once again come to light. You too, as one of the main protagonists of those beautiful stories, will be remembered forever. Good night, dear traveler. May the peace of Çatalhöyük be with you. The winds of this ancient city will find you wherever you are and illuminate your path with the wisdom of your ancestors. Now, with the memory of this magical journey you experienced in the depths of history, drift into a comfortable and peaceful sleep. For you have been a living witness to one of humanity's most special periods, and this experience will live in your soul forever.